So everyone, in this video, we're going to talk all about the biceps brachii muscle. We're going to take you through the key anatomical features such as the origin, the insertion, action, nerve supply and blood supply. And also we're going to talk you through key clinical conditions that you'll find when it comes to the biceps brachii in practice. So if you're ready to learn, let's dive in. Hey everyone, Khalid here. Welcome back to Clinical Physio. As we said, today we're talking all about the biceps brachii muscle. So first of all, let's talk about the name. So biceps, this tells us that this muscle has two heads, and we can see that it has a long head here and a short head here, which then joins together in order to converge into a distal tendon. But the fact that it has two heads means that the first word in the muscle is biceps. Then we have brachii. Now, anything brachii in the body refers to the upper arm. We can think about the brachial artery, which is located in the upper arm. We can think about the triceps brachii in the posterior arm, but again, located in the upper arm. We can think about the brachialis muscle, which is relevant to the upper arm. So the word brachii in this instance refers to the upper arm, where, of course, this muscle is located. So next, let's talk about the origin. So the origin of this muscle, as we said, it has two distinct heads. The long head originates from the supraglenoid tubercle of the scapula, the tubercle superior to the glenoid. And as you'll see later, it also has a really important partial attachment to the superior labrum of the glenoid. More on that later. The short head originates from the coracoid process of the scapula. We can see this protrusion on the anteromedial aspect of the scapula. And here we can see the long head and short head origin points. The muscle then, of course, runs down the anterior upper arm. And as we said, those two heads converge into one single distal tendon, which inserts into the radial tuberosity of the radius. Here we can see that insertion point with the muscle on and a second view here. So next, let's talk about the all-important roles of the biceps brachii muscle. Now, its first primary role, as you will all know, is that it is an elbow flexor. We can see that it crosses over the elbow joint here anteriorly, which helps us remember that it's going to flex the elbow. It also has a role in shoulder flexion. It is suggested to be a weak shoulder flexor. We can see that it runs and crosses over the shoulder joint, particularly the long head of biceps, and therefore the fact that it's situated anteriorly also helps us remember that it is a weak shoulder flexor. Now, the other role of the biceps brachii, not to be misunderstood and not to be underestimated, is its role in supination of the forearm. The biceps brachii is a really important supinator. And we can tell this from its insertion point into the radial tuberosity, as we can see here. Now, our radius bone is the one that rotates in the forearm to create the movement of supination and pronation. And the fact that the biceps brachii inserts onto the more lateral bone of the radius helps us remember that when it contracts, it's going to pull the radius in a more lateral direction, which is, of course, supination. We see that when patients have distal biceps tendon ruptures, they really do lose supination, which is a really critical movement that they lose. So moving on from there to the nerve supply for this muscle, the nerve supply to the biceps brachii comes from the musculocutaneous nerve, which takes its nerve supply from C5, C6. The musculocutaneous nerve also innervates other elbow flexors, including the brachialis muscle, and it also innervates the coracobrachialis too. Therefore, it innervates the BBC muscles, B for biceps brachii, B for brachialis, and C for coracobrachialis. And the blood supply for the biceps brachii primarily comes from the brachial artery, the major artery in the anterior humeral region. So next, let's talk about a couple of really important conditions of the biceps brachii that we see in clinical practice. First of all, we're going to head to the origin, and we're going to look at the key origin of the long head of the biceps brachii, which is into the supraglenoid tubercle of the scapula, the tubercle superior to the glenoid. But we also talked about how this long head has a really important origin point partially into the glenoid labrum of the scapula. And what happens when we have a significant trauma of the long head of biceps is that it can lead to a slap lesion. So here on the screen, you can see where we have the position of the long head of biceps inserting into that superior labrum, and when the long head of biceps gets traction significantly through a significant trauma, it can rupture its superior attachment to the labrum. We sometimes almost describe it as if the anchor is being pulled out from the seabed, whereby the long head of biceps, being the anchor, gets pulled away from the labrum. Therefore, do look out for patients who've had a significant trauma to the shoulder and report this pain deep-seated inside the shoulder, which may be the long head of biceps being pulled from that labrum, causing a slap tear. So look out for patients who have had a trauma, a deep-seated ache, and they might also report a feeling of clicking or a feeling of instability in higher degrees of flexion of the shoulder. Now, we said that the biceps brachii was a weak shoulder flexor. So when the arm is in more elevation and it's relying on that biceps brachii to perform its role, it can cause that feeling of instability, not a dislocation, but patients may well feel as if their shoulder gives way when they're in these higher positions of shoulder flexion. So do look out for some of those signs that may be a part of a slap lesion picture. So we can use a couple of special tests to look at a potential slap lesion, including biceps load test 1, which is where we place the shoulder at 90 degrees of abduction with full supination and then ask the patient to flex their elbow against our resistance. So we're clearly here activating the biceps brachii, but in a position of shoulder abduction to see if it irritates the superior labrum. And we can also perform biceps load test 2, which is very similar, but instead with the arm at a 120 degree abducted position. Here, once again, we're resisting the movement of elbow flexion, but with supination. As we said, those two movements are critical to the biceps brachii to see if doing this irritates the shoulder, which may indicate a slap lesion as well. Now, the other main condition that you might see for patients when it comes to the long head of biceps at the shoulder is a long head of biceps tendinopathy. So we can see that the long head of biceps runs through a little groove here in the proximal humerus, which is known as the bicipital groove. Would make sense from the fact that the long head of biceps runs through it, and we can see that groove nicely there. So this may well be where patients report pain when they have a long head of biceps tendinopathy in this anterior region of the shoulder. So look out for patients who have said that they've had this overload picture involving the long head of biceps. So it might be to do with bicipital elbow flexion in terms of bicep curls, particularly if they've been doing this in a position of more elbow extension, because that's going to stretch the long head of biceps at its proximal point. Look for patients who have said they've recently moved house, done lots of decorating, who may also report this aggravation of symptoms around the anterior shoulder that may be in keeping with a long head of biceps tendinopathy. Now, the other conditions that you might well see, including the biceps brachii, is tendon ruptures. You may well see that when a patient has a long head of biceps tendon rupture, including a trauma, that the muscle belly falls distally towards its distal point. This is referred to as Popeye's sign, where you see the muscle belly fall from its proximal point to a more distal point because it's lost one of those key proximal fixed points where it attaches to the scapula. So do look out for this in a patient who's had a trauma. It's more consistently to occur at the older adult, for the older adult who has had a significant trauma. So look for that Popeye sign and a potential weakness in shoulder flexion and elbow flexion as a result. But of course, we can also get a distal biceps tendon rupture where the tendon gets removed or severed at its distal point into the radial tuberosity. Now, these patients may experience a reverse Popeye sign, whereas instead of the biceps brachii belly falling distally, because it loses its distal anchor, it moves more proximally. So look for a reverse Popeye sign where it moves in the other direction. And naturally, these patients will have weakness in elbow flexion and supination because it's lost its distal attachment point towards the elbow. Another test that you can do for these patients is a hook sign. This is where we place the arm in 90 degrees abduction with lateral rotation and supination of the elbow to see whether or not you can then palpate the distal biceps tendon in the cubital fossa. And if you can't, that could be a positive for a distal biceps tendon rupture. So everyone, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please support us by smashing that like button and subscribe to the channel for all our best updates. Remember, we've got loads of other resources on our Instagram account at Clinical Physio, which you can find on Instagram for all the best resources we have there. And also, if you want more on anatomy, particularly for the elbow, check out our membership platform, member.clinicalphysio.com. We are right now presenting the Elbow Anatomy Bootcamp course, which will take you through all the key anatomy around the elbow, of course involving the biceps brachii and others, to really help you in your anatomy learning. So, thank you so much for watching. My name's Khalid. See you soon here on Clinical Physio.